What's up? What's up? What's up? It's Cayman Wolf, the Decrepit Gamer, back to remind you that you're never too old to game, and we're going to jump back into Project Ravenloft, guys, where we're building the classic Castle Ravenloft in Minecraft. If you're interested in getting caught up on this series, you can click the link right up here. I've also got the link in the description of this video, and I will link it at the end of the video. So that's 3 different ways that you can get caught up on this build, guys. We got a long one today, guys. We've made some great progress. I mean, some really fantastic progress, and I'm super excited to show it to you guys. So let's just jump right in. If you've been following this series, you know that I haven't been recording this by recording myself laying brick by brick, because I feel that would be meticulous and boring to watch. But what I like to do is I like to stop at interesting points or things that I feel like warrant being shown. And so what I've done here is I've raised the walls of the crypt up to the 30 foot that I said I was going to raise them up to. They're going to come just shy of the floor of the Larders of Ill Omen here. And then in the tombs down here, I've gone ahead and put the ceiling in, and this is going to stretch right on out across the crypts. And then, as you see, I've also created the crypts, which you can see here. So each of these things is a crypt, and you can see that showing which side of the crypt the door is on. And each of these things has a plaque on it, or some words and a skeleton in it, and then each one of them has different things that can happen if the characters manage to open the crypt. And some of them don't do anything, and then a lot of them do, very unique, interesting things, which I will get to later. But what I wanted to do was go ahead and build the crypts, because I want to close this place off. I've raised the walls, I want to put the ceiling over it, and so I want the crypts to be there. So I've built the crypts out of deep slate bricks because I wanted the crypts to have something a little bit different about them, to be built out of something different. Now these gaps here in the wall, what will ultimately happen is this will be filled in at above the 6 foot or 8 foot level, whatever level this is, 2 blocks above 2 blocks. These will all be filled in, and then each one of these will have a marble slab in it, and a skeleton or a body or some unique encounter or whatever. But the crypts are there now, so the crypts extend right on up to the ceiling. And then also the description says that there's an arched ceiling. I don't know that I'm going to do that, because arched ceilings don't play very well with Minecraft to begin with. And then when we've got, let's see here, 37 individual crypts supporting that arched ceiling, I just don't know that it's going to play very well with Minecraft's build mechanics and the limitations imposed on us by those. And then also it doesn't really elaborate. I mean, does that mean that each hallway between the catacombs is an individual arch, or the entire ceiling is an arch? It's not very clear, and so I'm probably not going to do that. I'm probably going to leave the ceiling flat and then have the crypts extend right on up to the ceiling. And then also it says that the black ceiling is moving, and the reason it says that is because, according to the description here, there are 1,000 bats hanging from the ceiling, and that literally 1,000 bats, I don't think it's going to be practical in Minecraft, but I think we will emulate that by possibly having bats very commonly spawn in here. But in the game, the bats just hang on the ceiling unless the characters get in a fight there, and then they fly down and they interfere. They don't attack, but they interfere with spell casting, and you have to make a dexterity check to cast spells and do certain things with all the bats flying around. And so that's really kind of the point of the bats. But I'm going to do the best that I can to emulate the fact that there's supposed to be a bunch of bats in here. But as far as the arch ceiling, I'm probably just going to leave it flat. But then I'll point out that I have filled in, you can see where I filled in the dirt here. So this, everything up to this point right here, because this is all completed and then it's roofed over. So I filled all of this in with dirt up here. So, as I complete this section by section, I will fill it in with dirt. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to go ahead and show it now, because when it's filled in with dirt, the only way you're going to be able to see it is from the inside, because this is subterranean structures here. This is below ground. And what I want to do is I want to fill in the dirt from the roof, from the ceiling of the tomb, all the way up to the ground level. And so with World Edit, what I would do is I would just go over here and lay down a dirt block, and then I would bring out my World Edit tool, and then I would mark that dirt block as the first position, and then I would come up here and I would mark this dirt block as the second position. And then I would just use the set command and say set dirt. And then boom, all of that is filled in with dirt. So as long as these areas are nice and rectangular or cuboid, then they're very easy to fill in. That was a real pain in the butt to fill all these areas in, these little oddly shaped areas that were left where I'd created these little hallways and these little nooks and crannies and things like that. That was kind of a pain in the butt. But once those get filled in, and then, as we move back, then these areas get more and more, cube shaped, and the whole process of filling all of this in gets easier. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to go ahead and show this, because once this is filled in, the only way you're going to see it is from inside. You're going to have to go into it to be able to see it. I can't do like I can with the castle up here and just show the exterior, because these are all subterranean areas right here. So this is the catacombs with the crypts in place and before the roof has been put in place, and that's what that looks like. All right, so now I've got the roof over the catacombs with the crypts in place, and that's here. And then I've got the roof also over the hallway that's here, K80, K81. K81 is actually a tunnel, a rough-hewn tunnel. So this hallway becomes there's a trap here between the two, and then this hallway kind of becomes a rough-hewn tunnel at K81, but we'll add that when we do the finishing touches. We'll convert this from a hallway to a rough-hewn tunnel by adding some additional deep slate and some other types of stone in here, and just kind of make it uneven and convert it from a hallway to a rough-hewn tunnel. But the point is, right now we've got all of this roofed over right along here. That's the tunnel. And then or the hallway, and then it ends in these stairs right here. And this height of this roof here is not specified. This is an extension of the crypt, which I put at 30 feet, which kind of felt right to me. The height of this roof here is specified at 20 foot. So we've got a 30-foot roof here and a 20-foot roof here. This stairway here isn't specified, but I wasn't sure how I was going to do this, if I was just going to extend this roof across and then drop it down and make this sort of a cavernous space that this stairwell was in. And the way I ended up doing it was I just brought the ceiling down at the same slope as the stairs, and I just added, so 10 foot is 3 blocks. So there's 30-foot roof here, 20-foot roof here. That's a 3-block difference. So I just kind of really sneakily added that into the slope of the roof as it comes down. I added an additional block here, and then if we come down, as we're going down these stairs, we'll see that there's an additional 2 blocks here, and then that makes up for that 10 feet difference between that rooftop up there and this rooftop down here. And so we've got a 20-foot rooftop here. And then here the rooftop is 10 feet, and this is also specified by the module, and this extends out over this is called the observation room, where these sickos would watch people being tortured down here in the torture room. But there's supposed to be a couple of chairs in here, and then this 10-foot roof here extends out over the torture room, and this is described as having a 20-foot roof, so that's just naturally extends. And then this entire roof here will extend over the torture room, over the hallway here to the spiral staircase, and then over the dungeons. Okay, so the dungeons, and I talked about this a little in my last video when I was really indecisive as to what to do here, because it just so happens that this entire area here is supposed to be flooded with nasty stagnant water. And so we've got 3 feet of water in this hallway and in this torture room here. and then the dungeon is supposed to have 5 feet of water. Well, Minecraft just is not that nuanced. Okay, so 1 block is 1 meter, which is just a little more than a yard, which is a little, more than 3 feet. So yeah, so it's basically 3 feet. I'm 3 feet and some change. So I'm basically calling three blocks 10 feet. So I'm basically calling 1 block 3 feet and some change. So all we have is conveniently we can have 3 feet of water here because that is 1 block. But then to make this 5 feet, we needed a portion of a block. Well, my son had this genius idea to use slabs here, so we're going to use slabs. I'm not sure how that's going to work out when I start trying to put if I need to put other things in here, and I may need to abandon that idea. But we tested that, and so far that it's been working out pretty good. So I would use water here, and I would soak the slabs, and that would basically make the water come up even with the next with the top slab, and then put 1 more block of source water. And then that makes the water just deep enough that the character's head will still stick out and he can wade in the water as the module says that he's supposed to be able to. So the stairs don't really go down as far as they're depicted in the module. So here's the stairwell right here. You can see it depicted right here. You can see that there's a little bit more of a drop here than what I have in the build. But what I'm trying to do is be as true to the design of the module as I can be within the limitations of Minecraft. And I'm really happy with this solution because what this allows us to do is have a de-elevation from this hallway to the dungeons. It allows us to flood the torture room in the hallway and flood the dungeons with the same water at the same level, and allow the characters to wade through both as the module says that they're supposed to be able to do. If I had gone down the full block, then that would have been 2 blocks of water, and that would have been over the character's head, and they wouldn't have been able to wade. They would have had to have swam or jumped or done something to keep their head above water, which I didn't want. Also, I didn't want running water, because if the water in the hallway was higher than the water in the dungeons, and that would mean that this water would have to run, which means that the water would have to have a source, which means that it would be moving water instead of stagnant water, and it couldn't be that gross, water that's just been sitting down there for, God knows how long with whatever, is in it. It would be running water, which tends to be a lot cleaner. So I was able to get the stagnant water. I was able to get the varying elevations between the hallway and the dungeon, and I was able to get the entire thing flooded at the same level, and I was able to make the characters be able to wade through the water. So I'm really happy with all of that. That all worked out. Now, I'm not going to put the water in here until I come back and I'm adding all of the finishing touches to the room. I'm just getting the structure of the dungeon here in place now, but we have tested this, and this slab right here will allow us to do what we want to do with the water. I'm not sure if I'm going to have to put other things in this dungeon that the bottom slabs are going to interfere with. If they do, we may have to rethink that. Hopefully not, but we'll see. But we're going to leave it like it is for right now, because in terms of the water, that is working out. That is a really good that has proven to be a really good solution. So okay. So now I'm going to continue on putting this rooftop over the torture room, over the observation balcony, over the dungeons, and then extend the spiral staircase here, and then we'll move on to the Larders of Ill Omen. All right, so now on the dungeon and catacomb level, all of the walls have been raised and all of the ceilings have been put in place. So now that entire level is inaccessible unless you enter it through a entryway. So what I've done over here is I've squared off everything. So see, these right here, this, and then right next to it here, which has been covered up by a tough brick wall, is these 2 staircases here. And all of this area around here, around the outside of these staircases, has been squared off with a wall. See, so it's just a flat 90-degree surface area there. And the reason for that is to make it much easier to go in here and fill everything in with dirt when I get done. yeah, there'll be some empty space between this staircase and the. Actually, this is the top of the staircase, but between the top of it, and you can see it right here. If I were able to punch through the top of that staircase, then there would just be a big open gap between that and the floor of the larders of ill omen above it. That's like sort of like an attic space or whatever. I mean, it's not uncommon. That's the way buildings are built. They don't waste a whole bunch of extra brick here to just fill up this empty space that's not going to be used. I mean, maybe in Minecraft you do because the bricks are free, but in real life they're not. So yeah, so right above this staircase here is empty space, and that allows me to much more easily with World Edit, once this is done, go in here and fill in all of this empty space with dirt, because everything is much more of 90-degree angles, and as you saw earlier, it's much easier to work with cuboids in World Edit. You pick one corner, then you pick the other corner, and then you execute a command against it, whether it's fill or whether it's replace or whatever. So that's it. That is that Dungeons and Catacombs level completely sealed off. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the Larders of Ill Omen. All right, so the Larders of Ill Omen have been walled in, so that the subterranean levels, the Dungeons and Catacombs, and the Larders of Ill Omen the structure is complete. You could walk around in there now and tour those. Of course, it's very bright in there right now, because I've still got the light blocks in place that I was using to help me as I worked. So I'm going to mass replace the light blocks with air blocks so that it's appropriately dark in there. But I'm not going to do that yet. The first thing that I'm going to do right now is go in here, and you see, like right here, for example, how these stairs are oddly shaped and these stairs are oddly shaped. I'm going to do like I was doing in the Dungeon and Catacomb level. I'm going to square this off. I'm going to put a wall right here to right here, and then right here to out here, so that everything is at nice 90-degree angles. So it'll be much easier to go fill this place in with dirt, because that's really the next thing to do. So I'm going to fill this area in with dirt, and then right before I fill in this last area, I'm going to take advantage of this what's going to be a hole remaining in the ground, and I'm going to go down here to the bottom of it and choose one corner, then go back over there to the very upper edge of this big massive clearing and choose the other corner, and just do a replace light with air command that'll go through and just mass replace all of the light blocks that I was using to allow myself to see down there and work with air blocks. So then it will be, like I say, appropriately dark in there. So yeah, that's the next thing I'm going to do now. I'm going to square off these walls, and then I'm going to begin filling this area in. Now, one thing I absolutely want to do here before I get too far, or before I forget about it, is go down here and pick this corner, this area of the hole here that I dug, this great big hollowed out area. This still goes down all the way to the maximum depth that I originally dug. So I'm going to mark this corner as the first position, and then I'm going to go all the way up here the very opposite corner, and then all the way out front to compensate for that, where I had to dig further into the side of the mountain for that one tomb. And I'm just going to pick this brick this block right here as the second position. And then I'm going to say replace light with air. And there we go. See, we've put the shadow back there now. I didn't want to forget to do that, because I didn't want to end up having to do that room by room down in the dungeon, because I had forgotten. So what I should see now is, if I go into the dungeon the legit way, through the entrance, I should see that it's all dark inside of there now. All right, and this spiral staircase back here from Strad's study The stairs are not done yet. I still got work to do on the stairs, so I'm just going to drop straight down here, and that should take me to this landing, K83A, which connects these two spiral staircases. Then this one goes down to the dungeon. And yeah, it's nice and dark in here. So good. This is exactly what we want. Let me take out a torch and let's go up here and look at our crypts, make sure that they're nice and dark. That torch up, yeah, it's nice and dark in here. Okay. And we're making good progress getting it all filled in here. Let's see, it looks like we're about maybe a fourth of the way done. It is pretty meticulous going through here, getting these anywhere where you can identify a cuboid, like, from here to here, from here to all the way out to here, I would guess, and then that would create another one here to up there. You just have to do it block by block, anywhere where you can find a cuboid that's, consists of 90-degree angles. All of this space under here is going to have to be filled in, but anyway, that's what we're doing. We're working on it, about a fourth of the way there. I did go through and square off any area that that made sense. Where there were spiral staircases, I would encase those in 90-degree angles, blocks. Here, I'm probably going to do the same thing here with these staircases. Just put a wall right along here to square that off and then fill that up with dirt. But yeah, we're getting real close. Man, this has taken a very, very long time so far, but we are almost there. Look at it. We are almost filled in. A little bit more. I'm learning as I go here that the best way to do this, the strategy is not to get as big of an area as you can with every replacement, but to eliminate as many corners as you can so that you've got fewer replacements to do. But yeah, we're very, very close here. Looks like we've just got a few left, a few big ones there. Way across here, across the back there. Looks like three there at least. Anyway, yeah, it's coming right along. So we're going to be done with filling in the area that we cleared out for the subterranean levels very soon. All right, here we go. The final replacement. Put one dirt there. One dirt down here. Select this one. Select this one. Now we don't want to overwrite the floor, so we're going to say replace light blocks and air blocks with dirt blocks. Boom. There we go. The grass will grow back on its own. It takes a few minutes, but there we go. All right, guys. Now our dungeon is in place down there under the ground. So that's awesome. So the next thing to do is going to be to raise these exterior castle walls. There's a couple of structures out here on the exterior of the castle. There's something over here like a guard shack or something. I don't remember what it is. I'll look it up when I do it. Yeah, we're going to raise these exterior castle walls and put these battlements in place. And yeah, then either work on the path leading up to the castle and the drawbridge that gets you across to the castle, or just go work on the rooms to the castle. I'm not sure which of those we're going to do next, but yeah, this is awesome. I'm probably not going to be able to resist just going and working on the castle rooms, but oh, I still got some battlements here to put in place. These battlements are not in place. I've got to seal up these faux entrances here that I just kind of broke through the wall so I could get into the castle to work on it without having to take the legitimate path all the way up to where I'm trying to go. Yeah, these battlements here. But yeah, it's basically done. Okay, guys. I think I'm going to go ahead and raise the castle walls now. So I've raised the castle walls and added the battlements all the way around the castle and on these walkways over here and on the interior walkway around the edge of the castle. All of the battlements are in place. So yeah, this the most important thing probably that I've done since the last clip is I have moved this entire world from the Aternos server that was hosting it. That was the so Aternos is a free hosting service for Minecraft. It's advertiser supported, lots of ads on there, but the service is completely free. It's a great service. I highly recommend it. But I've moved this world off of there because Aternos does not support Cube.js or Carpet, and those are the two. My understanding is those are the two big scripting mods that support scripting, and I really need that functionality because there's a lot of custom, traps and things that have to happen in here, encounters, events that have to happen in certain ways, and it's really going to take some scripting to do it. And I went ahead and did it because I wanted to work on this. You see, there's a big gap right here. This wall needs to go on up, but I've left this open right here because this portcullis is going to raise. It's going to raise up into the castle wall, and that's the way that it opens. I could do that with some piston blocks, and some redstone, and a great big contraption that's built underground there that pushes the castle gate up. I don't want to do it that way. I don't want to do it that way because if I were building this castle in a survival world and I were building it, my character was building it, that would be really interesting way to do it. And that would be the way that I would want to do it, because to me that would equate to a machine that I was building in the game world. That's not the way that I'm looking at this thing. I'm looking at this as an adventure server that I'm building as a server administrator that I want players to be able to play on, and I want these. I don't want these great big contraptions having to be put into different places buried underground and hidden in different ways. Also when you create functionality that way, it's a pain in the ass to change it. Like if I want to change the way it works, I have to go in there and make big, uproot the machine and make big changes to blocks and things like that. Whereas if it's handled via a script, it's just, maybe just a few changing a few lines of code in the script. Anyway, I need scripting functionality. That's the point. And I could not get that on Aternos. They don't support it because it's a security risk for them, and I understand that. So I've pulled my world off of the Aternos server, and I'm running it locally right now, and I've got Carpet installed, and I'm going to create all the functionality that I need, and when it's ready to go, then I will find a hosting service that does support scripting mods. And I found a couple already. They're more expensive than Aternos, but Aternos is free. I'm using two hosting services right now. I use Aternos and Exaraton. Exaraton is by the same people as Aternos. It looks exactly the same from the user interface and all of that. It's their paid service, and it's not chock full of ads, and you pay for your time on the server, but that one doesn't support scripting either. So I found some servers. I found some that do already. They're less. They're more expensive than Exaraton, but that's okay. They support the scripting that I need, so that's what I'll use, and I'll keep shop until I find one that has a real good price and good functionality and good ratings and all of that. So I'm not too worried about that. I know they're out there, so I'm going to just continue to build the server with the scripting that I need, and then worry about the hosting when I'm done. Anyway, I've got the castle. I've got these gates in place here. I've got to add the scripting functionality to allow them to raise and lower. I've got this thing over here built. This is just a according to the map, this is just a divider between these two courtyards here. Now this one is a bit more elaborate, but both of these things are just solid brick. They're not hollow. You can't go in here. You can't go in here either. This door I just put here so I could get into the cathedral when I was working on it. That's going to be sealed off. But this one here is a lot more elaborate. I finished putting these columns in place. You see, I've extended this on out to here. Oh, you know what? I haven't put these battlements in place here yet. Let me do that real quick here. This is one that I really was interested in. I wanted to, if you remember, I talked about this a couple of videos ago. I talked about it a couple of times. This is something that I added. This is not shown in any of the pictures because of the way the isometric view cuts this portion of the castle off back here. So I was kind of free to take creative license as to what this was supposed to look like back here. And I added this because it just made sense to have it, you know, to keep the rain from running, all of this rainwater from this roof right here to running down onto this thing. They would have to have just a massive amount of drainage on this thing, and I just didn't see it. It just made more sense for the roof to extend down here. But I said I was going to add the battlements and see how it looked, and then decide whether or not to keep it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to add these battlements. There. So the battlements are in place, and this is what I knew it would look like. I knew these battlements would come up here and meet this wall right here, and I think not only is that okay, I think I actually really like that. I like how this landing comes out here through this door. There's going to be a door here through this door, and then you got a little walkway right here. And these battlements make these little kind of windows here that you look through. Yeah, I actually like that a lot. Yeah, I think that looks good. Yeah, so I will leave that. And then also down here, I've gone ahead and built this portion of the castle wall up here. This is the part that leads out to that walkway back here. Not walkway, but that overlook back here. And there's a couple of structures here, and you can see those right here. So that there's the rectangular structure and there's the circular structure, and I assume that those are mirrored over here on this side. These really aren't mentioned in the text. It just talks about the overlook and how Barovia is 1,000 feet over the edge of this wall and all that. It doesn't really mention these structures here, so I do have some creative license on them, what they are and what they look like, especially these over here that aren't pictured. So I might make the roof a little bit different, something to add a little bit of variety. And then there's another structure over here, K4. K4 is a carriage house. The double doors swing open to reveal a sleek black carriage fitted with glass walls and a polished wood roof. So I've got to either look for some mods or look for something out there that shows me how to build that. I don't think I'm artistic enough to build something like that within the confines of Minecraft. So I'm going to do a little Googling there and try to find something. I don't think the carriage is going to work. I just need it to be decorative. But anyway, that's all it has for the description of the carriage house. So again, I feel like I've got a lot of creative license for the carriage house, for how tall to make it, for what the roof looks like, for everything. Basically, I'm going to probably put a stable in here for the horse, and then the carriage in this part and whatever. I'm just not sure, but that's probably going to be the thing that I'm going to do next, because all of these other walls have been raised. I'm going to build this carriage house right here. This is where it goes. I've got it marked, but I haven't raised it yet. There's a drawbridge here. I'm going to use some sort of scripting or structure blocks or something to make that a working drawbridge, and that's going to come down and across this gap right here, which there is going to be the town of Barovia is over there on the other side of the castle, under that overlook that we were looking at. And to get here, in the module, what happens is a carriage takes the characters on a long winding path to come over here to this mountain and then up through this mountain, this snowy mountain here, and then across here to this drawbridge. And conveniently, I didn't build this. This was already here. But you see this cavernous area right here? The path could come through this cavernous area right here. And then this I could terraform this, clear this away. And then this comes right out here to this drawbridge. So that works out really well. Yeah, so I think that'll be good. And then it's a nice sharp drop down there. I think I'll get rid of some of those trees, make it a nice sharp drop down there. Yeah, the town of Barovia is actually down here on the back side of the castle, looking up at the castle, and that's why, to get to the castle, the characters have to take that winding path around the around the side of the mountain, over the cliff, over that cliff face, and that really ties in. Oh man, look at that! I love that. I love that view right there. How that one spire is just, barely visible. Yeah, anyway, they take that long winding path up there and go in through the front of the castle, which actually faces that mountain on the other side. There also needs to be, just for immersion and realism, there also needs, I think, to be some supports out here that support that overhang, sort of like there is in the map here. And here you see how it's got these supports here that kind of support that overhang that juts out so far like that. I think I need to probably add something, something similar, some kind of supports. I don't think they necessarily have to look exactly like this, because this cliff face doesn't look exactly like this, but I think I need something here. And then this here, these symmetrical stones here that are in this little overhang on the edge of this mountain here, this wasn't here. I put that there when I first started building it so that I could have something to show me. Each one of those is one square on the graph paper. So I just used that to kind of keep myself lined up as I initially laid the groundwork for the castle. So that little overhang right there has to go away. That whole thing's going to go away, and the castle's going to come right up to the very, very edge of that mountain. So that's going to go away. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to work on those structures. I'm going to work on that carriage house, the drawbridge, all of these doors out here. I've been saving the doors because I didn't want them all to look, different. I wanted to kind of do the doors all at the same time, so I could put some standardization behind what the doors look like. I mean, the doors will have, they're not all going to look the same, but sort of the same. Like this portcullis here mirrors that one over there. This door right here is going to mirror that one over there. I just wanted to have a little bit of standardization in there, so it didn't look like the architect was drunk when he designed the castle. And the same thing for these interior doors here. I started to build them and I realized every one of them I was doing a different way. See, I got these looking one way and I got those looking another way. So I wanted to hold off and just kind of do them all together. So I stopped putting doors in the castle. I just left, gaps in the wall where the doors were going to go. So I'm going to do these, I'm going to do those structures on the overhang. I'm going to do the drawbridge. I'm going to do the carriage house. I'm going to add these doors right here, and then that I'm going to show that, and then maybe put some scripting behind those portcullises and the drawbridge, and then start working on some details, man. Because shit, I mean, we got a castle here. Look at this, guys. I mean, holy shit, look at it. That is a real castle, man. That is I love it. That is awesome. I mean, I can't believe that I'm looking at Castle Ravenloft. All right, just a couple more things to show here real quickly before I close out this video. I'm currently standing in the back part of the castle here, back in the K5 area, back behind the chapel. These spaces right here, they're not described very well in the module here. It says, behind the towering boarded windows at the back of the keep, a small garden struggles to survive. Small flowers press sadly skyward against the gloom. So it doesn't really mention those entryways there. It does mention that a large iron gate leads to K6. And so that's what we have here. This is the large iron gate that leads back there to K6. I've got a lever right here. It's not wired up yet. You know, it doesn't do anything, but that's what I plan on figuring out how to make that operate the iron gate there. And then these right here, I just made into archways that you just walk through them into the garden area here. I figure this part of the castle is probably not, you know, highly secure. This is not a doorway here. I just made this as a little cheat so I could get into the chapel part when I was working on it. I've showed that, I think, several times. And then here, I've already shown these portcullises here, and I've left room for these to raise. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to happen, so I'm going to have to play around with that. And then up here, we've got the gate towers. So in here is... I've got a lever on each of these gate towers. According to the module, these levers have to be triggered at the same time to raise the gate, but they're magically locked, so only Strad, you know, has the ability to open them with some magic word or something. But according to the module, this thing is supposed to be full of like gearworks and things to raise the castle gates, and so I'm probably just going to have some static, like wooden gears and, you know, chains and, you know, ropes or whatever in here, just for aesthetic purposes. And probably the same thing on the other side. The drawbridge will work. Now the drawbridge is over here. There's a portcullis right here behind the drawbridge. And then if we go up here, you can see the actual drawbridge there. I've got that in place. It doesn't work right now, of course, but the drawbridge will lower, and the characters will cross from this mountainous area right here. I'm going to have to finish hollowing this out so they can get through here and then go across into the castle. I've gone ahead and sealed this door off right here because that's coming up very soon on my agenda here to make all of these doors work. These doors that are made up of, you know, actual Minecraft blocks and not, you know, not actual redstone components or whatever. I've got to figure out how to make those work. We've got the same portcullis that we had here on the other side. And then over here, we've got this carriage house. This was not built in the last clip. I've built this now. So I've got, basically what I've got here is plenty of room in here. There's a couple of torches. I figure this is my thinking here. So the wooden parts of the castle, this castle was hundreds of years old, you know, because Strad's a vampire and he's hundreds of years old. And the, most of the castle is, you know, falling apart, and it's in, you know, it's in a state of disrepair. And, you know, there's a lot of dusty, you know, rotten things in there, you know, linen and things like that just aren't kept up because he doesn't, you know, he really doesn't need to. But the parts of the castle that are wood, I figure anything that's wood needs to be probably well maintained, or else it would, you know, it would eventually just rot and, you know, not exist anymore because it's wood. And so up here, this is Gertruda's bedroom up here, and you know, he's keeping her for, you know, I guess his whatever nefarious purposes. And so she's, you know, she's a living person that he has living in here. And then there's also a person that lives in the servants' quarters down in the dungeon area. That some of that is wood, and so this would be maintained because there are actually, you know, living people in here. And the same thing with this carriage here, because according to the module, the characters come in. I believe the characters enter the castle via a carriage, if they choose to. There's different ways that they can come in there, but if you think back to the Dracula movies, you know, where the carriage takes the protagonist, you know, Jonathan Harker takes him to the castle in a horse-drawn carriage. And so this would be well maintained here. So there will be a carriage in here, and then here I've got a stable for the horse, and I've got this lever right here that's going to open these gates right here, and then I've got this lever here to open these gates. That all needs to be wired up, or close these gates or whatever. It needs to be wired up, and I need to figure out how to do that. Yeah, so that's it, guys. So we're gonna. The next thing I'm gonna do is work on getting some of these contraptions working here, like these doors that are, you know, made of big Minecraft blocks and portcullises and things like that. I'm going to work on. I think what I'm going to do is use So I'm a little new to the Minecraft modding scene. I have been in software development for many years, so I'm not intimidated by the notion, but I'm new to it. There's different. I have done a little reading. There's different options that I can go with. I think I mentioned in the previous clip that what I've decided on is one of the, instead of like hardcore modding it myself. There's a couple of mods that expose some scripting. One of them is Cube.js, which I would really love to use, but there's several versions behind. This server is on version 1.21.5, and the latest version supported by Cube.js is 1.20.1. So they're pretty far behind, and I don't want to roll my server back that far. So I'm thinking I'm going to go with Carpet, which is not as robust, and it doesn't use actual JavaScript, whereas Cube.js uses the Rhino JavaScript engine, and you're actually scripting in JavaScript, which is just awesome. And I would love to be able to do that. I just don't want to roll my version back that far. So I'm gonna go with Carpet, at least for now. But I think initially for these exterior areas right here, I think I'm going to try to do this with redstone and structure blocks, and maybe command blocks. Just some building versus scripting techniques to just kind of get me accustomed to that, so that when I start scripting, I'm more familiar with what I'm scripting against. And then I will move into Carpet. And if they will just go ahead and get Cube.js updated to a more recent version that I could use it. That's really what I would rather use. So I think I'm going to close it out here, guys. And stay tuned, and we hope to see you in the next one, which should be released pretty soon. I'm trying to keep a good pace on getting these things released, and hope to see you in the next one. Looking forward to it. This is Cayman Wolf, the Decrepit Gamer, reminding you that you are never too old to game. And for right now, my friends, I am out of here. Woo!